Hello everyone, on today's episode of the 1 Year Life Transformation Challenge, we're going to talk about 10 signs your life is on track. Hello everyone, as promised in the intro, we're going to talk about 10 signs that your life is on track. I know for myself, the challenge and the pain of growing, either whether it's physically or spiritually, can quite often leave you wondering, are you really getting anywhere? You sit there from time to time asking yourself, is the pain worth it? And is the reward really there? So every once in a while, it's great to check in and really diagnose if you're on track, because I can tell you it's definitely worth it if you're taking the right path. So as always, I'm going to begin with a quote on this subject, and that quote is, "When you trust in the universe and accept where it is taking you in this moment, you are trusting in the same divine plan that created Niagara Falls, the Great Barrier Reef, gravity, and the person you most love in the world. With that track record, your trust is well placed." The great Bradley Hughes, Happiness Ecosystem. I'll have that book out in 2016, but that's a verse I was working on today. And trust is something that we all find very difficult to trust we're on the right path. However, we trust gravity. We trust the fact that the sun is not going to destroy us with a solar flare tomorrow. So we trust a lot of big, incredibly important mechanisms of the universe, but quite often we just can't trust ourselves. Yet we are in no way different to the sun. We are made of the exact same stuff. We are no different to gravity. We have repeating patterns, we have destiny, and we have a contribution to make, and trust is at the key level. Without trust, you really second guess yourself and you destroy what you're meant to do. So, looking for and observing, so this is the real challenge, right? And why so many people can't trust, because if it's that easy and if we can trust the sun, why can't we trust ourselves? It's because we're continually in our head looking for external coordinates or external mechanisms to validate our passions and our true lives. The example I gave on the video I did about Vincent van Gogh is Vincent van Gogh only sold one painting in his life for 400 francs. Now, given perspective, we all know that Vincent van Gogh is perhaps the greatest painter of all time. He never gave up and he kept painting because he wasn't looking for external coordinates or measurements in the phenomenal world to say he was amazing, because he felt that painting was what the universe wanted him to do. And whether or not that made him money or got him the girls, which it didn't matter to him. And his trust and faith took a guy who would have ended up in a loony bin, he would have been in a psychiatric prison at the time, took him and made him into one of the greatest painters of all time. So I'm going to insert a video here, which I saw just recently from the great Russell Brand, who was touring Australia, that might give a better insight into what I'm saying.
You want to be better than everybody else. You want to be the best, the funniest.
You cannot define yourself in reference to other external coordinates. You must define yourself internally with your relationship with a higher entity. Think of yourself as a manifestation of some higher thing, some higher frequency. This is the visible realization. And you know that because you can't see atoms, can you? And you certainly can't see the forces that hold atoms together. There, in the micro-quantum world, Richard, lie the answers to everything. We can't understand it with our logical, rational minds, but we feel it intuitively. Get yourself in alignment with that stuff and you beam like the sun.
Jeepers creepers.
Yeah, man.
So, I used to use external coordinates all the time, and I was doing really, really well. I had a huge level of income. I was acquiring more and more things, traveling to more and more places, and I was really building a great repertoire of external coordinates. And from an external perspective, everyone I knew would quite often comment on how well I was doing and how much money I was making and what an impact I was making on business. I was impressing everyone but myself. However, because we so often have such empathy and we put so much of our self into others, I continued the pattern because I was really living off that food, the food of the self-esteem of people telling me how good I was. But ultimately, that was nourishing food. It wasn't really growing me. It was simply like eating cardboard. It probably could keep you alive for a little while, but not forever, not for indefinitely. And that personal level of acquisition, and the more and more I got, the closer I got to the realization that I wasn't successful. Successful is how you feel in the moment. And if you don't feel great in the moment, you need to ask yourself how you're going about your success. There's so many people who are so frustrated, so desperate, so unhappy, and they won't change the mechanism for their happiness because the media around them continually gives them prototypes of success. But behind those glossy newsreels, behind the Facebook newsfeed of the holidays and all these sort of things, you're dealing with real human beings. And real human beings have been understood for the last 3,000 years. We've had sages and mystics from the Buddha to Jesus to psychologists like Carl Jung get this. They get it, right? However, the inability of them to sell things through the capitalist system has meant their messages have been sidetracked. But you being happy is more important than any amount of money in the world. It's bigger than the Fed Bank. It's bigger than the stock exchange. You being happy is the mechanism which brings love and happiness into the world and affects others. So, how do we know how we're going and how can we stay true to that path? Now, Martin Luther King said a quote that I quite often use, which is, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. And that's what self-development is all about, is just taking the steps. Yes, ultimately we know that we want to achieve enlightenment, we want to achieve a better version of ourselves that's more in line with our purpose and the universal consciousness and the earth that sustains us. However, that can be quite hard to see, especially when you're starting out. So it's all about the steps. So let's look at those steps. So what's the first step in knowing that you're doing really well on your journey? Number one, you're breathing. You have beat the odds. Let's look at the odds of you breathing right now. Now, you all know how linear history isn't a great mechanism for understanding time, but I'll use it for this video. There's been 14.7 billion years of time since the formation of our particular universe, one of many. So, in that time, 99.9% of all things that have ever lived in the universe are dead. So you're instantly better off than 99% of all things that have ever lived in the history of creation. So you're in the top 0.1%. Now, if you look at the fact that to be in that top 0.1%, you had to survive a journey of 10 to 15 to 35 million sperm. So you can really start to see how lucky you are to be bringing light to reality right now. You're collapsing the waveform, you are engaging with other people, and if you're alive, and Sia's got a great music, a great song out at the moment, which is basically about if you're alive, you can do it. You know, that's all you need. If you're alive, you've got that second chance. So if you're alive, you're doing particularly well. Pat yourself on the back. You're better than Abe Lincoln, you're better than the dinosaurs, you're better than distant galaxies and supernovas which have exploded. Number two, the number two step to see how you're doing on your path, you think less. This is my most challenging concept to convey to people. Everything you know exists in a collective unconsciousness. You don't need to be stressing, worrying, constantly recycling thoughts in order to be on top of your game. It's not, in fact, you know what it's like. When you're overthinking, you're never on top of your game. The less you think, the more you act spontaneously. The more you act spontaneously, the more you come out of your true place of love, the Tao. You interact with your environment in the way you were meant to. And thinking less makes your soul stronger and you can help more people. Number three, you care less on how others perceive you. This has been huge for me. As I said in the first story or chapter of my life, I was all about impressing others. Now I'm not really interested, and I think it was Dr. Wayne Dyer to say, what other people think of you is none of your business. And I find that really helpful. People don't know your path. They are concentrating to create their own purpose in life, and they're not really thinking of you. I'm sorry, you're not that important. They're not stressing over you at night. The general populace doesn't remember that you made a mistake at work. You're remembering it, and because you care so much about yourself, you're then directing that attention level onto others. Don't worry about it. People will judge you whether or not you do a good or bad job, so just do what you feel is right. Number four, you're more patient. As we start to become better people, we understand that there's good and bad in life, and the environment around us is perfect. We don't need to go out and change the world, we just need to change our inner world. Therefore, when you're waiting at a checkout line and things aren't happening to the speed that you'd like, you realise that the challenge is not the checkout chick. The challenge is that your perception of how fast things should go is incorrect. So step back and change your perception and be more patient. That's what you find as you move along your journey. Number five, you stand up for yourself. It goes with number two, because you care, number three, because you care less how people think, you stand up for yourself. And standing up for yourself is all about communicating clearly your needs. We assume that people have this telepathic, empathic ability to know what we want, and if they're not giving us what I want, then there's something wrong with them, they're mean and evil. No, they just don't know what you want. So tell them and stand up for yourself. Number six, you say no to things that don't serve you. This is a huge one. so many people find themselves in a situation where their entire life is made up of things they don't want to do because they've never said no to them. It's like I talked about a mathematical principle of love, of rejecting the first 3 people you meet on dates because ultimately it gives you more selection to choose from. It's a mathematical, statistical anomaly that you can exploit. Say no to anything that doesn't serve you because more things will come into your life that you can say yes to. Don't think that when you say no to something you'll never get another chance. That's faulty scarcity mindset, which isn't actually true. 7, you lose envy. As you understand the connected nature of reality and how we are all simply mirrors and microcosms of each other, you don't care, you don't become envious that someone's got a Ferrari. You understand the person with the Ferrari is a reflection of your global consciousness. Therefore, that's great they've got a Ferrari. They should enjoy it. If you understand maths, you know a little bit about fractals and the new fractals that are being researched by mathematicians now. Within every fractal geometric shape is every other geometric shape that ever could be made. And if you took my shape, you could replicate that into any shape in creation. You can make me into a dinosaur. Now, this is getting a bit freaky and it freaks me out as well, but just understand that we're all intricately linked at that core level. Number 8, you forgive. When you know that other people are you, and when you know that everyone's got their own story, you start to forgive. Number 9, your health is a priority. Your body is a vehicle for your consciousness, and you put your health first, and you start doing the right things for your body. That's a great sign you're on track. Number 10, you have a purpose. When you have a purpose, a clearly defined purpose, and you've removed external coordinates to tell you how good you are, you find life effortless. Let's stop waiting for other people to tell us how we're doing. Let's stop waiting for the world to reflect the faulty belief systems that we have about success. Let's do it. Let's be within the Tao. Let's get it done. And that's why you're watching this video. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. We're not going to rely on any external coordinates tomorrow. We know that we're successful. We know that we help build the universe. And we're going to bring that power tomorrow for the next video. Can't wait to see you till then. Goodbye.